There are people in this world, people cloaked in smiles but armed with poison. They walk beside you, shake your hand, and say they wish you well, but behind their back they carry daggers of envy, hatred, and manipulation. Evil doesn't always come wearing horns. Sometimes it comes dressed in charm, wrapped in compliments, and pretending to be a friend. And you, yes, you who believe in God and walk the path of light, you will encounter these people not once, but again and again. Because darkness is always drawn to the light, not to follow it, but to try and extinguish it. But hear me now. You were not created to cower before evil. You were not designed to be silent in the presence of wickedness. You were chosen by God to stand in power, to discern what is false, and to rise above the schemes of the enemy. You are not weak. You are not helpless. You have the covering of the Almighty. When evil people rise against you, when they gossip, when they lie, when they try to sabotage everything you've worked for, God is watching. And if God is watching, justice will come. It may not come when you expect it. It may not arrive in the way you imagine, but it will come because God is not mocked. And the evil done to the innocent never escapes his sight. Don't you dare fall into the trap of fighting evil with evil. Don't lower yourself to their level. God did not raise you to be bitter. He raised you to be bold. And boldness is not about loud voices or harsh words. It's about unwavering faith in God's protection. Even when the enemy surrounds you, let them talk. Let them scheme. Let them throw their stones. But while they plot in secret, you remain anchored in truth. While they whisper in shadows, you stand in the light. Because when God is on your side, no weapon formed against you will prosper. That's not just a verse, it's a reality for the faithful. Evil people want to see you react. They want you to stumble. They want you to fight dirty. But don't give them the satisfaction. Don't feed the fire they started. Instead, stand so firm, so still, so grounded in God's presence that your silence becomes your strength. You don't need to announce your power. You don't need to shout your innocence. When God fights your battles, your enemies will turn on each other before they ever reach you. Stay calm, stay alert. Stay holy, because your response in the face of evil determines whether you rise or fall. And my friends, you were made to rise. When evil comes close, it does not always announce itself with fury. It slips in quietly, often through the very people you once trusted. That relative who always smiles but is secretly rooting for your downfall. That neighbor who seems kind but spreads your name in slander. That coworker who pretends to help but plots behind the curtain. Evil knows how to wear a mask, but it can never imitate the peace of a soul that walks with God. So how do you handle them? Do you fight them with rage? Do you curse their name in bitterness? No. You rise with dignity. You rise with discernment. You rise with power from the one who never sleeps nor slumbers. Evil people are not your enemy. They are tools being used by the enemy. And you, chosen by God, must never let them control your spirit. They want access to your mind, your emotions, your energy. But the moment you give them that power, they win. You are not called to play their games. You are called to walk a higher path. It is not weakness to ignore them. It is not cowardice to remain quiet when provoked. That is power under control. That is wisdom. That is spiritual strength. God sees what they do in darkness. He hears what they say behind your back. He watches the traps they lay before your feet. And when the time is right, He will lift you so high that even those who tried to bury you will have to look up to see what God has done. Do not seek revenge. Do not pray for their downfall. Leave room for God's justice, because when God repays, it is perfect. Your job is not to become like them. Your calling is to reflect the character of the Most High. Evil people will test your patience. They will mock your peace. They will try to provoke your anger. But every time you choose to walk away with your head held high, you defeat them without saying a word. Every time you refuse to respond with venom, you show them who really holds the power. Not them, not you, but God. And God does not lose battles. You must learn to see evil people as a test of your spiritual maturity. Will you break, or will you bloom under pressure? Will you retaliate, or will you rise above? When they throw insults, wear your silence like armor. When they lie, let your integrity be your defense, because one day the very mouths that spoke against you will be silenced by the evidence of God's favor on your life. So stand firm, not with hatred, but with holiness, not with revenge, but with revenge. but with revenge, but with revenge, but with revenge. Not with fear, but with fire from the throne of heaven. The world may be filled with evil people, but it only takes one person walking with God to shift the atmosphere, break every curse, and stand victorious. There is a reason evil people are drawn to you. It is not because you are weak. It is because you are powerful. When the enemy sees someone walking in alignment with God, they tremble. Not because of who you are in the flesh, but because of what surrounds you in the spirit. Evil people are assigned by the enemy to distract, drain, and destroy those who carry light. But they will fail, because the light you carry is not from this world, it is from God Himself, and light does not ask darkness for permission to shine. You must understand that the presence of evil in your life is often a sign that something great is upon you. The enemy does not waste energy attacking someone with no purpose. You are a threat to the kingdom of darkness. That is why certain people suddenly turned on you. That is why people you helped with your whole heart ended up becoming your worst critics. That is why your name ended up in conversations you were never invited to. Because evil fears what it cannot control. And when it cannot control you, it will try to break you. But you are not breakable when God is your foundation. You are not shakeable when your trust is rooted in His strength. Evil may try to storm your life like a flood, but you will stand like a mountain that cannot be moved. And while others waste their breath trying to tear you down, you will use yours to call upon God who lifts you higher. Let them talk. Let them lie. Let them twist your words and misinterpret your actions. The truth needs no defense when it is guarded by God. And what they do not understand is this: every attack, every betrayal, every act of evil only prepares you for greater blessings. You grow through it. You rise above it. You shine in spite of it. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not arrogance, not revenge, not pride. But the peace of knowing God is your vindicator. So don't fight evil people with their own weapons. Don't curse what God will use for your promotion. Walk away with power. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because your soul deserves peace. Let God deal with their hearts. Let God handle their intentions. Let God be your shield, your sword, your judge, and your reward. Because when you take your hands off the situation, God puts His hands on it. And when God moves, no evil can stop what He has declared over your life. The fire they tried to burn you with will become the fire that purifies you. The storm they created will carry you to your destiny. That's the power of staying in God's presence. That's the strength of letting God fight for you. That's how you handle evil, by staying so rooted in God's grace that not even the fiercest demon can pull you out of His will. There will be moments when the evil around you feels overwhelming, when the betrayal cuts so deep it feels like a knife to your soul, when the manipulation is so thick you can't breathe, when the lies are so convincing that even those who once believed in you begin to doubt. But listen to this truth: evil may be loud, but God is louder. Evil may move quickly, but God is always ahead. And while evil people try to paint false pictures of who you are, God is busy writing your true story in permanent ink. You must stop expecting fairness from people whose hearts are filled with darkness. They don't love truth. They love control. They don't chase justice. They chase chaos. And if you keep looking for peace in their presence, you will always be disappointed. That's why your eyes must stay fixed on God, not on what they say or what they do. Stop giving evil people the power to define your mood, your day, or your direction. You were not created to live under their influence. You were born to rise above it. You were designed to endure the fire without smelling like smoke. That's what happens when God walks with you. The evil words spoken behind your back will never have the power to destroy what God has prepared ahead of you. The storms they send were meant to drown you, but instead they will teach you to walk on waves. And the pain they inflicted, that pain will become your testimony. Evil people think they have the upper hand when they see you suffer, but what they don't realize is that God is using that suffering to build a warrior. And warriors don't whine, they win. Not through revenge, but through endurance. Not through anger, but through faith. Not through screaming, but through silence rooted in divine strength. Evil will try to press you, but God will shape you. Evil will try to bury you, but God will plant you. Evil will try to confuse you, but God will bring clarity in the quiet. Don't match their energy. Don't mimic their actions. You don't need to explain yourself when God is your defender. And you don't need to chase closure from people God never sent. Let them talk. Let them spin their web. The trap they set for you will become their own downfall. Stay still. Stay righteous. Stay hidden under God's covering. Because when God lifts you, no evil hand can pull you down. Do not be surprised when evil shows up dressed as love. Some of the most dangerous people in your life will be the ones who once held your hand, who once shared your table, who once called you family. But their presence was a test, not a blessing. Their betrayal was a revelation, not a tragedy. And the moment you start seeing evil not as an interruption to your journey, but as a tool God uses to sharpen your discernment, you will stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Thank God it happened." Because now you know who is for you and who is not. Now you know how to recognize fake apologies, manipulative kindness, and counterfeit loyalty. The devil does not fight what does not threaten him. If you are being targeted, it means you carry weight in the spirit realm. It means you are dangerous to the plans of darkness. And evil people are merely instruments trying to delay what God has already set in motion. But here's the secret. They cannot stop what God has started. Their plots cannot penetrate divine timing. Their curses cannot override God's blessings. You don't need to wish them harm. You don't need to expose them publicly. God will do it better. And when He does it, it will be undeniable. He will shine such a bright light on their intentions that even their closest allies will walk away in shame. But you must stay clean. You must stay pure. You must stay unshaken in your walk. Because the reward of handling evil God's way is greater than any revenge the flesh could ever give you. You will walk in rooms where they tried to keep you out. You will receive honor from places they tried to block. You will experience breakthroughs in the very areas they tried to bind. And it will not be because of who you are, it will be because of who your God is. So take courage. Stop trying to change evil people. Stop begging them to see your heart. If God couldn't soften their spirit, you surely won't. Let them go. Let them fall into the pit they dug for you. But you, rise, move forward, heal, rejoice. Because God is building a future so bright, not even the shadows of evil can block its light. Sometimes the most painful part of dealing with evil people is realizing that they don't feel the remorse you expect them to feel. They lie and sleep peacefully. They deceive and still smile. They hurt you, walk away, and then act like nothing happened. But this is where your spiritual maturity must rise above your emotional expectations. You must accept the fact that evil people are not guided by the same moral compass you live by. Their joy does not come from peace, it comes from power. But what they don't understand is that every time they use their power for evil, they are writing their own destruction. God is not blind, He is not silent, and He is not slow. He is patient and He allows evil to run for a time, but when He moves suddenly. He will expose, dismantle, and silence every spirit working against you. You don't need to pray against people. Pray for your own strength, your own focus, your own deliverance from bitterness. Because bitterness is the trap the enemy sets for the wounded. You may be hurt, but you are not broken. You may be attacked, but you are not alone. The presence of evil is proof of the presence of God's purpose on your life. So do not lose yourself trying to understand why they did what they did. Don't torment your mind replaying their actions. Heal. Let it go. Release it into God's hands. And then walk forward with confidence, knowing that what they meant for evil, God will turn for good. The betrayal will make you stronger. The lies will make you wiser. The pain will make you unshakable. And the next time evil rises, you won't cry, you'll stand. Because you now know who you are, you now know whose you are, and you now know how to fight with faith, with silence, with unwavering trust in the one who always has the final word. There will come a day when everything you went through at the hands of evil people will make sense. The silence you endured, the slander you absorbed, the isolation you suffered, it will all form a picture of divine preparation. God does not waste pain. He does not allow evil to touch His children without a purpose behind it. You were not abandoned, you were being aligned. You were not defeated, you were being developed. And while you were crying in secret, God was building you in strength, patience, and wisdom. You will look back and thank God that you didn't fight back, that you didn't compromise your values, that you didn't become like them, because you will see that your restraint was power. your calm was warfare, your silence was obedience, and your elevation was God's reward, people will ask you how you survived what you went through. They'll wonder how you stayed so composed while your name was being dragged. And you'll smile, not because you forgot the pain, but because you remember the grace that carried you through it. Evil people are temporary, but your calling is eternal. They may win a battle, but they will never win the war, because God always finishes what He starts. And if He started something in you, no evil can destroy it. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to defend yourself. Just keep walking, keep trusting, keep standing, because the same God who allowed the storm is the same God who will calm it. And when He does, those who mocked you will see you rise. Not in arrogance, not in revenge, but in quiet, unshakable victory that only God can give. Handling evil people isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about preserving your peace. When you engage with wickedness, when you react emotionally, when you step into the mud with them, you lose time, energy, and clarity. And the enemy knows that. That's why evil people provoke. They pull you into drama so you forget your purpose. They throw words like arrows to pierce your spirit. But you must be wiser than that. Your assignment is too great. Your anointing is too costly. Your destiny is too important to be distracted by people who were never sent to walk with you. When they gossip, pray. When they slander, worship. When they betray, grow. Because that's how you win. That's how you break cycles. Evil people are stuck in patterns of destruction, but you were created for transformation. Let them live in chaos, you live in clarity. Let them choose bitterness, you choose healing. Let them stay small, you rise, and you rise with peace, power, and purpose written by the hand of God. Evil will always try to get your attention, but you don't have to answer. Not every battle deserves your presence. Not every insult deserves a reaction. Some victories are won by walking away, not by staying to fight. Some battles are God's, not yours. And when you let Him handle it, He handles it completely. There comes a point in your spiritual journey where you realize that evil people are not just individuals. They are assignments from the darkness, carefully planted, designed to wear you down, chip away at your peace, and provoke the worst parts of your nature. But listen, this is not the time to grow bitter. This is the time to grow bold. Because when you walk with God, every evil person placed in your path becomes a lesson, a test, a sharpening stone. You don't grow in soft seasons, you grow in fire. You don't gain discernment through comfort, you gain it through pain. And every betrayal you survived, every lie spoken against you, every trap they set that failed, these are not wounds, they are weapons that now work for you. God takes the weapons of the enemy and turns them into instruments of preparation. You didn't lose when they walked away. You didn't lose when they lied on your name. You didn't lose when they turned others against you. You only lost the weight you weren't meant to carry into the next season. Evil people are used to dragging others into their world of misery and manipulation. But when they met you, they encountered something different. You didn't fall for their games. You didn't surrender to their schemes. And even if you broke for a moment, even if you wept behind closed doors, even if you questioned your worth because of what they did, you still got back up. And that is where evil loses. Evil doesn't lose when it attacks. Evil loses when the one it attacked refuses to quit. When you keep moving forward in obedience. When you refuse to retaliate because you trust God's justice more than your own hands. That is how you overcome evil. Not just by surviving it, but by turning it into fuel for your purpose. You see, there are levels of elevation that can only be accessed through pain. There are doors that only open when you've been purified through fire. And sometimes the evil people are the fire God allows, not because He wants you to burn, but because He wants you to shine. And when you do, when the light of endurance radiates from you, the same people who tried to destroy you will have no choice but to witness the glory of God rising over your life. They'll whisper, "How did they make it?" And the answer will be simple: God. Not revenge, not pride, not connections, just God. Because when God is your vindicator, your story will never end in shame. It will end in honor. So keep your heart clean. Don't let evil pull you into its web. Stay different, stay holy, stay chosen, because you were never meant to match their energy. You were born to transform atmospheres. You were born to carry light where darkness tries to rule. You were born to walk in power that evil cannot touch. There will be seasons in your life where evil does not just come in the form of people, it becomes a storm. A storm that enters your home, your relationships, your thoughts, even your body. You'll find yourself surrounded by darkness so thick it will feel like God has gone silent. Your prayers will seem unanswered. Your cries will echo back without a reply. And in that moment, evil will whisper, "You've been forgotten." But don't you dare believe that lie, because silence is not absence. God is not ignoring you. He is observing. He is measuring your strength. He is watching whether you will fold under pressure or stand in the fire and still declare, "I trust you." Evil people may have started the fire, but God is the one who controls the temperature. And He will not allow the heat to destroy you, only to purify you. You see, faith is not proven in sunshine. Faith is proven when the sky is black, when the voices around you are poisonous, when those you loved have now turned cold, and yet you still believe. You still walk forward. You still choose righteousness when retaliation is easier. That kind of faith frightens evil, because evil thrives on reaction. It feeds on emotional chaos. It grows when you doubt. But when you stand calmly in the face of slander, when you stay silent when you're provoked, when you choose not to fight flesh with flesh, you strip evil of its power. You declare through your stillness, "My God will handle this." And you know what? God will. He will come through. Not always quickly, not always loudly, but always perfectly. He will vindicate you in ways you never imagined. He will cause those who hated you to witness your rise. Not because you prayed for revenge, but because you remained faithful. Because you refused to let their evil become your identity. Because you understood that evil people are not your enemy. They are proof that your anointing is real. They are confirmation that what's inside of you makes the enemy nervous. You are not weak for crying. You are not faithless for feeling pain. But you are victorious for refusing to give up. Every tear you shed in silence is being collected. Every insult you swallowed in patience is being remembered. Every time you turned the other cheek, God took notice, and one day He will reward you not just with peace, but with power, with honor, with clarity, with favor that no evil can block. So keep walking, keep trusting. Evil may circle you, but it cannot touch what God has protected. The battle is not yours. It never was. It belongs to God, and He never ever loses. There will be nights when you lie awake, replaying the things they said about you, the things they did to you, the doors they slammed in your face, the pain they caused when you expected love, the silence they gave when you needed support. And evil will whisper, "You're not worth it. You're not strong enough. You're alone." But let me declare this over your life. You are not alone. Every hidden pain, every secret betrayal, every tear that soaked your pillow in silence was seen. God saw it. God felt it. God recorded it. Evil people may fool others, but they can never fool the one who created hearts and ways and intentions. They wear masks to the world, but their souls are naked before God. And just because they're not exposed yet doesn't mean they've gotten away with it. God is not rushing. He is preparing a revelation so divine, so complete, that when it comes, it will speak louder than your words ever could. You won't need to defend yourself, because the truth will stand taller than every lie. And while you were breaking in private, God was building something in you. Resilience that cannot be taught, wisdom that cannot be faked, and authority that cannot be bought. You see, the enemy thought he could destroy you through these people. But all he did was drive you deeper into God's presence. And that's where your true power lies. Not in noise, not in revenge, not in being heard, but in being hidden under the wings of the Most High. When you rest in that place, you begin to see with new eyes. You begin to understand that evil people are not just a burden, they are a mirror. They show you how far you've come. They reveal who you are not. They confirm what God kept you from becoming. And that is a victory most people will never understand. Because while they're still trapped in cycles of bitterness, gossip, control, and fear, you have stepped into freedom. You are no longer living to please or prove. You are no longer reacting, you are responding through the Spirit. You are walking in a peace they can't comprehend. And that peace will confuse your enemies. They will wonder how you smile without revenge. They will wonder how you speak without malice. They will wonder how you forgive without apology. But you'll know. You'll know that the pain didn't break you, it built you. That the lies didn't limit you, they launched you. That the lies didn't limit you, they launched you. That the evil didn't curse you, it crowned you. Because when God sets His hand upon you, no evil voice can remove it, no betrayal can erase it, and no opposition can change it. You are covered, chosen, and carried. So walk boldly, even if you're walking alone, because one step with God is greater than 1,000 steps with those who don't value your soul. Let evil people fade into the background. Let your focus remain forward. Your best days aren't behind you, they are just ahead, and evil can't stop what God has already set in motion. There comes a depth of spiritual maturity where you no longer react to evil people the way the world expects you to. You no longer scream to be understood. You no longer chase explanations. You no longer cry out for apologies you know will never come, because you've grown. You've changed. You've tasted the bitter poison of betrayal and you've survived. You've walked through the valley of manipulation and you came out wiser. You've seen the eyes of those who smiled in your face while plotting your downfall behind your back, and yet you didn't curse them. You didn't expose them. You simply placed them in God's hands and moved forward. That strength didn't come from your personality. It didn't come from your willpower. It came from your scars. It came from knowing that every time you were pushed to your knees, you found God waiting. And that sacred connection, born in pain, sealed in surrender, is what now guides your every move. Evil people still exist. They still try. But what they don't understand is that you're not the same person they once dealt with. You're not bitter, but you are not blind. You're not weak, but you are not loud. You are strong in silence. You are powerful in peace. You carry an inner stillness that disturbs the very spirits operating in your enemies. They want a reaction. You give them calm. They want chaos. You live in clarity. They want you to break down. You build higher, because you've discovered that evil cannot operate in the atmosphere of divine presence. The moment you stay in alignment with God, every evil force begins to scatter, not because you spoke, but because God stood with you. And when God stands with you, every tongue that rises against you will fall, not by your hand, but by his righteousness. That's why you don't chase revenge. That's why you don't beg for respect. That's why you no longer compete with evil spirits operating through human vessels. You've learned that your peace is your weapon. Your endurance is your protest. Your discipline is your defense. And your destiny is the greatest proof that their evil could not touch your purpose. Evil may surround you, but it does not define you. The lies may echo, but they do not shape your reality. You're not here to convince them. You're here to complete what God has assigned you to do. And as long as you stay in that lane, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what is coming. Not evil people, not jealous hearts, not manipulative voices, not even your past. Because when you surrender to God's timing and God's justice, you begin to walk in a grace that evil cannot comprehend. And that grace will lift you higher than their hate ever intended to pull you down. There is a sacred strength that only awakens in the soul after you've been deeply wounded by the hands of those you once trusted. It doesn't rise in the moment of battle, but in the quiet after the war, when your tears have dried, when your questions have gone unanswered, and when all you're left with is the silence between you and God. And in that silence, something shifts. You begin to realize that everything evil people tried to destroy was never really yours to protect. It belonged to God. Your reputation? God's. Your peace? God's. Your future? God's. And if it's God's, then no human hand, no evil plot, no whispered lie can remove what he has preserved. That's when you stop fighting back. Not because you've surrendered to the enemy, but because you've surrendered to God's will. You begin to walk differently. Your spirit no longer panics when you're misunderstood. Your heart no longer breaks when the fake ones leave. You don't beg for clarity. You don't chase closure, because now you understand. Evil people were part of the pruning, not the punishment. They were allowed access to test the depth of your faith, not to break you, but to build you. And oh, how you've been built, not with applause, not with admiration, but with fire, with storms, with isolation, and yet you are still here, still standing, still full of purpose, still wrapped in divine protection. And every time someone says, "I don't know how you made it," you smile, because you know. You made it by refusing to become what they were. You made it by turning every betrayal into a stairway. You made it by staying soft when you wanted to turn cold. And now you walk with quiet authority. Now you carry discernment. Now you recognize evil before it opens its mouth. And you no longer argue. You no longer explain. You just exit. Because evil no longer excites your attention, it only confirms your elevation. And every time you walk away with grace, God adds another layer of glory to your life. You don't even need to ask for vengeance anymore because you've realized the greatest vengeance is growth. The greatest clapback is success. The greatest rebuttal is peace. And the highest form of victory is when God prepares a table for you in front of those who once wanted to starve your soul. So eat in silence, rise with humility, shine without apology, because you are not who they said you were. You are who God declared you to be before they ever spoke your name. And when you walk in that identity, evil loses its grip, not just on your life, but on your mind, your emotions, your future. You've been freed. And now you are dangerous, not to people, but to darkness itself, because a person who has endured evil and stayed faithful to God is unstoppable. When you've walked long enough through betrayal, deception, jealousy, and manipulation, something inside you begins to shift. You stop looking at people for who they pretend to be, and you start seeing them for the spirits they carry. You no longer argue with mouths, you discern hearts. You no longer wrestle with faces, you recognize patterns. And this is where the power begins to rise, not in how loud you speak, but in how clearly you see, because God has opened your eyes. He didn't allow you to suffer at the hands of evil people just to leave you broken. No, He allowed it so you would never be blind again. And now that your vision has changed, your walk has changed. You no longer move based on emotion, you move based on instruction. You no longer stay in places where your spirit feels suffocated. You no longer entertain conversations meant to disturb your peace. You no longer try to prove your goodness to those committed to misunderstanding you. Because now you know not everyone deserves access to your light. Not everyone deserves the privilege of your presence. Evil people are not always strangers. Sometimes they are family. Sometimes they are people you poured your soul into. And the heartbreak isn't in what they did, it's in the fact that you believed in them. You trusted them. You loved them purely. And they use that love as a weapon. But here's the glory in it all. What they used to break you, God used to bless you. What they used to shame you, God used to shape you. What they used to bury you, God used to build you. You are no longer who you were before the pain. You are no longer naive. You are no longer desperate for belonging. You are no longer chasing validation, because your identity is now rooted in something unshakable. Evil people used to shake your peace. Now they confirm your purpose. They used to distract you. Now they refine your focus. They used to drain your spirit. Now they remind you to guard your energy. Every time they rise up, you rise higher, not out of pride, but out of divine momentum. Because when God decides to lift you, no evil force in this world can hold you down. And what they thought would destroy you has now become your distinction. You are set apart, not because of your pain, but because of what the pain unlocked. Now you carry oil. Now you carry fire. Now you carry clarity. And there's no going back. You've reached the point where the presence of evil no longer alarms you. It activates you. Because you understand that when evil appears, elevation is near. When people turn, God is about to shift. When rejection happens, redirection begins. That is why you no longer beg to stay in rooms you've outgrown. You don't plead to be accepted by people who were never assigned to your destiny. Evil people are part of the process, but they are not your problem. They are merely tools in the hand of God, carving the strength, the character, and the calling He destined you to carry. Now that you've walked through the fire and didn't burn, now that you've been surrounded by evil and didn't surrender, now that you've cried every tear and still chose peace, you must understand something. You are not the victim of evil, you are the victory that rose from it. What they meant to shatter you has only shown the world how unbreakable you are under the hand of God. You've seen the fake smiles, you've survived the hidden daggers. You've endured the seasons of silence where no one clapped for your survival. But heaven saw, God saw, and not a single moment of your suffering will go unrewarded. The evil people in your life were loud, but God was working in silence. They tried to rush your ruin, but God was preparing your rise. They thought you were finished, but God had barely begun. And now you carry something they cannot steal. You walk with a presence they cannot copy. You speak with a weight they cannot match. Because what's upon your life didn't come from man, it came from the secret place where only God could see your brokenness and still call you powerful. You don't need revenge. You don't need applause. You don't even need validation. What you need, you already have: God. And with God, You are more than protected. You are positioned. You are more than favored. You are fortified. You are more than chosen. You are charged with divine fire to walk where others fell, to rise where others sank, to remain standing where others broke. And when evil sees you now, it trembles, because it knows it failed. It knows it couldn't stop what God placed inside you. So keep walking, not with anger, not with pride, but with a quiet, burning confidence that everything they did only brought you closer to your destiny. Every whisper, every backstab, every closed door was the sound of God redirecting you toward greater. And from this day forward, you are no longer shaken by who leaves, who hates, who schemes, or who betrays. Because the battle is no longer yours to fight. It never was. It belongs to God. And the same God who allowed the evil is the same God who will now reveal the glory. Let it unfold. Let Him speak. Let Him lift, because the time of suffering is ending. And what comes next will make every ounce of pain worth it. Walk with your head high, not because you are proud, but because you finally know you were never walking alone. And now I leave you with this truth. You are stronger than what tried to destroy you. You are wiser because of what you survived. You are still here, not by luck, not by chance, but because God decided your story wasn't finished yet. Let the evil people go. Let their words fade. Let their shadows pass. Because what God is doing in your life is greater than anything they tried to stop. You don't need to fight back, argue, or seek revenge. You only need to stand still, stay faithful, and let God be God. He saw the pain. He measured the pressure. And He allowed it only to prove that no evil can break what He has built. So walk forward with peace in your heart, fire in your spirit, and your eyes fixed on the One who holds your tomorrow. Because what lies ahead is redemption, restoration, and reward. And no evil, no matter how loud, how cunning, or how close, can stop what God has already written over your life. You are covered. You are protected. You are walking in power. And your victory is not coming. Your victory has already begun.